As Season 1 of the Ahsoka series drew to a close, one of the parting shots was of Baylan Skoll standing on top of a massive sculpture on Peridia which depicted the Mortis Gods. Baylan stood on the father's hand, to his left stood the son, and to his right, the daughter. But who are these figures, and what will their significance be in Ahsoka's story going forward? As depicted in the Clone Wars TV series, the Mortis Gods, also known as the Ones, were a powerful family of force-wielding entities who collectively represented the Force. The daughter personified the light, the son aligned with the dark, and the father maintained balance between the two, seeking to protect the galaxy from his two children, whose opposing viewpoints and devastating power had the potential to destroy the lives of the innocent people around the universe. In order to control his children and to protect them, the father brought his family to Mortis, a mysterious realm in the Force manifesting as a planet, but unable to be mapped or pinned on any star charts. Like the world between worlds, Mortis seemed to exist between space and time, appearing as a tangible planet in space at some times and seeming to be nothing more than a figment of imagination at others. The power of Mortis allowed the father to keep both of his children away from the rest of the galaxy. It functioned as a prison in the sense that they could not escape, but also as an oasis where the power of the Ones posed no threat to the outside universe. Throughout their exile, the son struggled to contain his desire to overpower his father and escape this realm, while the daughter remained peacefully at her father's side. The Ones were immortal, but the son and the daughter only maintained their immortality as long as the father was alive. If he died, his children's ability to live forever went with him. During the Clone Wars, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are drawn to Mortis by the father, who sought to test Anakin's abilities to see if he was in fact the Chosen One. By the end of their venture, Anakin proves the Chosen One prophecy to be true by using the Force to conquer both the son and the daughter, thus showing his ability to restore and maintain balance. Before Anakin and company leave Mortis, however, the daughter allows Anakin to transfer her life force into Ahsoka to save her, while the father sacrifices himself to kill the son, thus leaving all three Gods of Mortis dead in the end. However, given their unique and ambiguous existence, it is possible that the three of them lived on. In the Ahsoka series, something on Peridia calls to Baylan Skoll, and he speculates that this presence could allow him to bring an end to the cycle of violent conflict between light and dark. In the end, as Baylan stands atop the sculptures of the Mortis Gods, one potential piece of symbolism stands out. The daughter's head is missing, and in the closing scene in which Ahsoka and Sabine accept their new reality on Peridia, Ahsoka sees Morai, the convor who has followed Ahsoka since her time on Mortis and is believed to hold a spiritual connection to the daughter. So, what does all of this mean for Baylan, Sabine, Shin Hati, and above all, for Ahsoka Tano? The first question to address is who truly calls to Baylan Skoll. The answer could be anyone or anything. It could be one of the Mortis Gods, it could be none of them. But let's go down that road for a while. The family of immortals consists of the father and his offspring, but it is missing a fundamental component. While all possibilities remain on the table, one quickly growing theory suggests that it is a lesser-known figure known as the Mother who calls to Baylan Skoll. In Star Wars Legends, there existed a fourth component to this family, a corrupted soul known as Abeloth, unrelated to the Ones, but an individual who'd cared so deeply for them and the life she had built with them that she risked everything to gain the immortality they had. The Mother would become immortal, but she remained unlike her family. She was not a god, and so the nexuses that granted her eternal life also viciously warped her mind and transformed her body. Abeloth was a monster of the Force with power that rivaled that of the father. After seeing what the mother had become, the son and the daughter imprisoned her and the family left her behind, although she repeatedly managed to escape, which required the son and the daughter returning to banish her time and time again. Once a devoted and loving mother, Abeloth became known as the Bringer of Chaos, a dark entity more evil than Darth Sidious and more powerful than any Force wielder we have ever seen. For now, Abeloth remains a figure strictly tied to Legends material, but with Baylan's ongoing exploration of Peridia and our first live-action recognition of the Mortis Gods, it may just be time to familiarize ourselves with the Mother. I think it's unlikely that this story would directly mirror that which was told in Legends, but I do think there is a chance that we could see a canon adaptation of Abeloth begin to take shape. If the Mortis Gods truly did die in the Clone Wars, their absence could mean that Abeloth is now primed to escape and rain chaos down across the universe. And on that note, it's also worth entertaining the long-running theory that Anakin Skywalker may have replaced the father as the Keeper of Balance. That theory would be supported by the fact that the Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker appeared on Peridia, and by Anakin's uncanny abilities he displayed within the world between worlds. And the father did also tell Anakin that, like he and his children, Anakin is much more than just a Jedi or a Sith, which may imply that Anakin was on his way to becoming a Force God. And so, maybe we will come to see that it's now Anakin who keeps Abeloth at bay as he fills the father's role. Perhaps it will even be Ahsoka's role to fill the daughter's spot as the embodiment of the light, and maybe even Baylan assumes the role of the sun. This would all actually tie in pretty nicely with what we've seen from Ahsoka in terms of her overall story so far, and it could explain why the daughter's head was missing on the sculptures. That's all pretty wild and out there in my opinion. I wouldn't put my money on Anakin, Ahsoka, and maybe Baylan becoming Mortis Gods, but it is possible that we could see something like that, and we know Filoni isn't afraid to venture outside of the box with his stories. It's also worth pointing out, however, that a Force Ghost is sort of a god in its own right, and Anakin did appear as a ghost on Peridia, blue silhouette and all, and so he may just be a ghost who is trying to guide his Jedi apprentice forward. Going back to focusing on Baylan and what exactly he is hoping to find on Peridia, I think it's very interesting that he stated that he is in search of the beginning, because when the daughter was explaining she and her family's role in the galaxy, she once said, "We are the ones who guard the power. We are the middle, the beginning, and the end." So it definitely seems Baylan is in the right place for whatever that's worth. The beginning could be referring to the time when the Mortis Gods separated from Abeloth. It could mean the beginning of the Force, as Mortis is believed by some to be the birthplace of the Force, or it could of course be referring to something else altogether. Again, Mortis is not necessarily a particular place, it's actually tied to the world between worlds and seems to transcend space and time, so Baylan's journey could very well lead us back to the world between worlds once again. The passing of Ray Stevenson may complicate the future exploration of this story, but assuming that it is picked up again in the near future, I think it's safe to say that Ahsoka, Sabine, and Shin Hati will likely end up crossing paths and working together at some point, and their journey will eventually overlap with Baylan's, whether that means we see him again in some way, or they simply come to realize what he was there for after he has moved on. On a related note, I also think it's interesting to point out the role of the Night Sisters in this story, as the implication seems to be that the power or the magic held by the Witches of Dathomir actually originated on Peridia, which, as we see now, has ties to the Mortis Gods and maybe to Abeloth. The legacy of the Mortis Gods will almost certainly loom over Ahsoka's future in some capacity, whether that means her taking the daughter's place, which does seem more likely now than it ever has before, or it just means her past experiences will help her to make sense of whatever challenges she and Sabine encounter next. But what do you guys think was the significance of seeing these sculptures at the end of this season? Do you think it could be Abeloth who calls to Baylan, or is it something else? Do you think Ahsoka's story will come to an end on this planet, or will she find her way back to the main galaxy? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like to support the channel, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, remember, the Force will be with you always.